Hey guys, so I want to do a video on something that kind of goes with another video I did with the NordicTrack treadmill. One of the problems a lot of people having is when they do the steps to get into privilege mode, iFit in the background does the update, or you do the update, and then now you get a little code that comes up, and you have to call iFit customer service to get a code to get into privilege mode. And the problem is once the screen goes into sleep, it goes back to that code. One of the fixes, one of the workarounds, is to go in and put a pin on the screen to lock the screen so it won't go to sleep. And also prevents it from doing an update. Some people have been saying on YouTube that now, even though they have a PIN or password, it's still going out and updating, and then it's wrecking privilege mode. So, my main job in life is a network engineer, and first thing I thought of is, well, we got to go in and block traffic going to iFit and prevent the update. Now, you can go out and spend a bunch of money for what's called a network tap. Or if you have a managed switch, you can create a span port, and then you can run a capture on the port that's going to your NordicTrack. But if it's Wi-Fi, then you can go to your access point or your Wi-Fi router, whatever the connection is for your treadmill. Or you can make your own network tap, which is actually pretty cheap. You can take a couple of Cat5 cables, cut one of them in half, take the sheeting off the other one, just kind of take a razor and split it down, and take the shielding off, exposing just the wiring. And then you can take one of the cable you cut in half and wire the orange to green, green, because that's your transmit side, to one cable. And on the other cable, you can wire the green, green to orange, green, that's your receive side. And that way you can plug one cable in to monitor inbound traffic, and then you can plug the other cable in, this is to your desktop, to monitor outbound traffic. And you do that using Wireshark or some other utility, TCP dump. And you just run a capture on your interface, your Ethernet interface on your computer. Or, because sometimes that all depends if you wired anything right. One misstep and it won't work right. You also have to make sure, if you're using TCP dump, that your interface is in promiscuous mode. You don't have to do that with Wireshark. Wireshark will do that automatically. There's an option inside there, and by default, as soon as you go and set your capture to whatever interface, it places it in promiscuous mode. And what that means is it's not actively going to try to get an IP address. It's just going to be a passive device, just absorbing all the packets, traffic that comes into it. So another option, and a very cheap option, is you can get one of these on Amazon. And I'll put a link in the comment section. And this is called a network tap, and this is it right here. It's pretty simple. It's made by Throwing Star LAN Tap. And you have 4 ports, J1, 2, 3, and 4. J1 and 2 are your pass-through. If you look kind of in the middle, in between the lines, you'll see J1 and J2 on this side. This is your pass-through. So one side will be coming from your source, and the other side will be going to the destination. It just plays like a man in the middle, almost. And then you have these two, J3 and J4. J3 is inbound traffic, receive traffic, and J4 is outbound traffic, what your treadmill is sending to. And so when you hook this up and you put this cable, your outbound traffic, into the interface in your computer, you'll start to see the traffic for your treadmill and see where it's going to. So you want to know, what is my treadmill trying to send to in order to get an update. So let me show you once we get that hooked up, which I have right here. If you can see it right here. That's what I have right here. This white cable is going up to my wireless access points. Those are Ubiquiti AC Light wireless access points. I have 3 of them in the house. And they're 802.11 AC. They're good, they're reliable. And then they all 3 go into a gigabit switch, and then that gigabit switch, there's a gigabit connection that comes down from my comm closet to my router. This blue cable goes to the router. So basically I'm sniffing traffic between my switch that has my wireless access points and my router. That's what I want to see, because if I try to sniff traffic on the outside of my router, all of my inside LAN traffic is NATed, or network address translation. It'll be NATed to a public address, and I won't know which one of them, which of that traffic is the NordicTrack. I'll be able to see the outbound traffic, but I need to see what's actually sending it. So I need to be sniffing on the inside. So let me show you the next part. All right, so this is Wireshark. I have it up right now. If I want to, let me find my cursor. Where's my cursor at? Here it is. So if I want to, I'll go ahead and close it and open it up from the beginning. When you open up Wireshark, and you can download this, it'll show all the interfaces on your computer. Even USB, Wi-Fi, here's my Wi-Fi connection. Ethernet 2 is the connection that I'm using for Ethernet that I'm going to use it for this tab. So if I double click on it, it'll open. And as you can see, everything coming from my wireless access points is now, this is all outbound traffic. So you can see everything in my private address 10.0.1 is going out to everything. But I don't know which one it is. I know the IP address of my treadmill. Let me show you how do you get that before we go on to sniffing. All right, so now I'm back on my machine. Now I got to find out where my IP is, or what my IP is. There's 2 ways you can do it. You can go into privilege mode. If you're not already in there, go ahead and get into it. Hit the circle, hit the menu, go up to settings, go to Wi-Fi, and then hit the 3 dots in the top right and hit advanced. That'll give your IP right there. There's mine, 10.0.1.67. That's my private address. Or if you're not in privilege mode, you can get out of settings, go into iFit, hit the little guy down here, hit settings, and then you can go to equipment info and then app info. And that'll show your IP right there, 10.0.1.67. So now that I have my IP, I need to go back to Wireshark and narrow down my capture just for this device. All right, so I'm back to Wireshark. So the first thing you want to do is take your cursor, if I can find it, where is it? And you want to hit up in this box all the way at the top. And you want to type IP, and it should already give you something, but you want to type IP.addr space == space and your IP. So there's my IP address right there. So I click on it, hit enter, and now my capture will only be that IP. See, everything's sourcing from my treadmill. So what you want to do now is you want to go up here and you want to hit the little shark, refresh, restart current capture. Click that. Come over here and ask you sure you want to start without saving? Yes, you want to continue without saving, and then it'll give you a nice blank screen. Now, I want to go and I want to start an update. Okay, here I am back at my screen. Hit my little guy down here. Settings. I want to go to maintenance. Maintenance. There it goes. And you can see it says update available. So I'm going to hit update available and it should start updating. Now, see, now it's downloading. Now I want to go back to Wireshark and see where it's getting this from. All right, so what I found out was there's a couple URLs. Let me get to it. So this api.ifit.com you have to have. It is what tells it that it needs an update, but if iFit doesn't connect to that site, you can't even use any of the iFit features, because we still want to, you know, you don't have to sign up for iFit. There are some free routines in the iFit software that you can still use without having a subscription. But if you still want to use those features, you have to have that that website not blocked. It'll go out and say, hey, I got an update. But then there's another website. Let's see if I can find it right here. ifit-wolf.s3-cdn.ifit.com. That's where it pulls the update from. So if you try to if you go up and it comes up and says, hey, I have an update, you tell it yes, it will try to download, but it will just sit there. And then you can hit closed and go on about your business, do whatever you want. Or you hit no on the update feature. But it's still going to bother you about an update. The great thing about it will be is it won't be able to download an update in the background without that site. That's what I'm finding so far. So in my router, under the URL block, I have this img.ifit.com block, and then ifit-wolf.s3-cdn.ifit.com. Those two is what I'm blocking. If you don't have a router that allows you to block by URL, you can go into the command line, which if you just go in Windows, bring up the Windows, this is Windows 11, but if you're in Windows 10, it'll be over here in the left corner. You hit the window, type CMD, and hit enter. You'll get a command line. Type, you can't have these blocked, so I'll have to unblock them right now. So I'll just turn off my URL blocker, because my router has an IPv6 firewall. So I can't block IPv4 traffic. All my private stuff is IPv4. If you have a 4-digit IP address or a 4-octet, you know, like mine 10.0.1.67, that's an IPv4. IPv6 will look similar to that right there. That's an IPv6 address. So you want to, if you have IPv6 router that only has IPv6 firewall, look for this URL filter. If you do IPv4 and you don't have a URL filter, you bring up this command line, you type nslookup space the first URL, which is img.ifit.com, and hit enter. And it'll give you those 4 IP addresses, those 13.249s. You need to put all 4 of them in, And if you need to put a seeder in, there'd be a /32 or 255, 255, 255, 255. It depends on your firewall. And then you need to do the other URL, which is iFit. Oops. -wolf, WORF, .s3 -cdn .ifit.com. Hit enter and put in those two addresses. All right, so that's what we got. And like I said, if you don't have a URL filter, then put the IPs that you got from the NSLookup. Now this doesn't guarantee everything. I mean, I'm just trying to find a way to stop my device from updating, so then it requires a code and I can stay in privilege mode. Doing this prevents the device from being upgraded, getting the latest security patches and whatever else, even though iFit is way behind on the Android operating system. And you would have to turn this off and update everything if you want to go and do an iFit subscription. So, you know, if you have an iFit subscription, you don't want to do this because that'll block everything from updating and you won't get a lot of content. This should still allow you to do the free iFit routines that are on your device. It's just trying to prevent the device from updating so you can stay in privilege mode. Another issue is that if the device itself gets updated, if for some reason you update it, I noticed in some of my captures things have changed where they started switching. Instead of going to ifit.com, they're going to Amazon Web Services even for patching. And what that does, it makes it pretty difficult because Amazon Web Services are all over the place and you could get hundreds of IP addresses depending on wherever it goes. And a lot of times they'll use generic URLs that are just that just point to Amazon Web Services. If anybody else digs into this and finds specific URLs with the later software, with the newer patches, updates it did, because I know in my treadmill I can upgrade twice without getting the code prompt. But if I update the third time, then the code prompt is. So I updated twice, which still uses these addresses, and then I implemented my block. That prevents the last patch that switches everything over to Amazon Web Services. So that's pretty much it. This gives you an idea how to do a packet capture. I mean, if you want to monitor your own network to see what devices are doing, you can use that and keep an eye out on things that are happening with. You'd be surprised how much information. I mean, if I bring this over here and I bring up, this is just a quick example, I bring up Wireshark and then I do it without filtering on my what do you call it, the treadmill, and I just want to see everything going out of my network through that's wireless. I mean, this is a lot of stuff happening on my network that is going out right now, talking to everything. Now these addresses are 10.0.1 and 10.0.1 on both sides. Those are devices talking to the router. But if you see these long addresses, 169, 254, here's another one. It goes by so fast. These are all wireless devices right now. Except for, I think I have a couple of hardwired things into the switch up there. That's my camera security system. I think I can't remember. There's a couple things plugged in up there that are hardwired. So it's going to grab that too. But this is everything going out to the internet from that switch. So you would be surprised what your wireless devices are doing and who they're talking to while they're sitting on your desk, or while they're sitting on your nightstand, or while they're sitting in their charger. You know, and you can investigate these destination IPs to see what they're talking to. You'd be surprised how many overseas connections your devices are doing when you're not even doing anything with it. So anyhow, you get off of that. If you have any questions, concerns, or ideas, or if somebody out there runs a capture and can figure out what is being used with the new software, let me know and subscribe. Have a good one.